It's been 2 years since Need for Speed Payback released, and it's fair to say that it was quite a mixed bag when it came to the reviews of that game. I've been spending some time with the latest iteration though, Need for Speed Heat, and I'm glad to say that I think it improves on quite a few areas where Payback failed. I don't post all that many racing games on YouTube, but over the past few years, I've really enjoyed in my free time being able to relax with a good racing game. The Forza Horizon series has been a good example of a racing game that you can just sink hours into, and it helps that it looks amazing too. I used to love the Need for Speed games too, but perhaps not as much with some of the more recent versions. Underground 2 and of course the original Need for Speed Most Wanted were absolutely incredible racing games, and Heat never quite gets up to those standards in my opinion, but it does put the game and the series back on the right track. Let's start off with the basics, the graphics. Visually, this game looks stunning, and it should, because for some time now the Need for Speed games have been running on the fabled Frostbite engine. I think the overall level of detail in the cars and the environments is brilliant, and the lighting, especially at night time, is really impressive. Heat has a day and night element to it, but this time around you choose whenever you want it to change, as it affects certain gameplay elements that we will get onto shortly. Despite the game looking fantastic though, I can't help but feel it doesn't look quite as good as Forza Horizon 4, and it's probably not a fair comparison, but Horizon overall has more cars and all of them have interiors fully modelled in detail. Heat doesn't actually have an interior view at all. There's a bonnet cam, a floor cam and multiple different rear cameras, but sadly no interior. To be fair, I don't think it's something that Need for Speed has done before anyway. It's definitely an arcade racer. It doesn't need it, but I suppose that playing a load of Forza Horizon 4 has just spoilt me a bit. The level of fidelity isn't quite on Horizon's level, but it's a great looking game. I will say one thing though, the camera shake is quite heavy and there seems to be no way to either turn it down or off, and it can get pretty annoying after a while. I'd like an option to just disable it completely. That being said, the audio in the game I think is top notch. The cars sound meaty, helped by a fully customizable exhaust sound, which is new for this game. One of the biggest elements of any racing game nowadays though, especially Need for Speed, is car customization, and thankfully there's an absolute ton of it in here. The fluid system where you view your car upgrades changing in real time should be familiar to a lot of people who've played the most recent Need for Speed games, but thankfully the convoluted system of getting upgrades that was in Payback has gone. When you're purchasing a car from the dealership, of which there are plenty by the way, around 130, ranging from Honda Civics, Porsche 911s, Nissan GTRs, Pagani Zonda, even Ferraris. The game gives you a customization rating from 0 to 10. This is essentially how many different customization options each car has. Most cars have a good range, but some have less than others. The Nissan GTR, for example, that's got a huge amount of options, from side skirts, fenders, rear wings, diffusers, rear lights, hoods, the whole 9 yards. Most cars will have a basic amount of customization, but not all of them will quite have that level of customization. You can purchase any visual customization providing you have the money, but when it comes to actual car upgrades, you're going to have to level up to get those. The way the game works is actually quite simple. Level up your reputation and you're able to unlock new performance parts for your car. Also, doing a few side missions gets you some special parts. You can then purchase those parts with the cash that you earn from doing races in the game. Payback had a truly awful system though, whereby you had to do certain activities out in the world to get specific car upgrades. I'm not sure anyone will miss that. One thing that's also changed from Payback is that there's no longer segregated car divisions. In Payback you had different categories of cars, so race, drift, etc. That's no longer the case in Heat, and I think that's what most people would prefer. Instead, you can change your car setup depending on what you want. Change up the suspension, tyres and various other parts to shift the overall feeling of the car from a road racer or off-road or perhaps even drift. This means that you don't have to stick to what the game offers you. That being said, when you buy a car, you will see what area it's leaning towards, but a few different upgrades can change that. Okay then, what about the racing? Well, the first thing you need to know is that Heat is an arcade game and it makes no bones about it. If you've played recent Need for Speed games, then the handling will be familiar to you. It's been refined a bit, but it may take you a while to get used to it if it's your first time. In previous games, your cars always seemed to drift around corners no matter what you did. At least in Heat, when your car is set up for grip, it will definitely grip. Of course, you can instigate a drift on purpose by tapping accelerate twice, although if you find that annoying, you can change it from a gas double tap to a brake double tap instead. So the game is split up into two distinct areas, day and night. By day, you take part in legal racing for cash, street races on closed off circuits or sprint races, and then by night you race for reputation instead. And this levels up your overall reputation rank. At night though, the cops are out and looking for street racers, so blow past one of those and you could be in trouble. Not only that, but in some races the police will often get involved mid-race, sometimes giving you a bit of a challenge. Overall though, the police in this game are brutal. They will slam you, try to pit you, and just generally smash you all over the shop. As the chase escalates, the police will throw out spike strips to disable your tyres, although it's only a small delay and then they will re-inflate, so it's not a complete game over situation. They will also bring in large reinforced rhino vans to smash you around and choppers to track you from the air. At higher levels and on hard, you have to try and break line of sight and often use jumps to get away from them, because if you get caught, there's a big price. Your car takes damage too, so you don't have an endless amount of hits in you. Eventually your car will break. To repair it, you can drive through fuel stations, but you only have 3 in any one nighttime session. So once you've used them, they're gone. You get certain car upgrades that can help you repair though, or stop the immobilization system that the police will try and use on your car. Here is the kicker though: the more races and police chases that you go on at night, the higher your reputation amount increases to. And by increasing your heat level, this acts as a multiplier. Get caught though, and you're going to lose most of that reputation and a whole bunch of cash. So it's a real trade-off. Only by getting yourself back to a safe house and ending the night do you guarantee that reputation. And you can't do that while being chased by the police. You'll have to shake them first. There are some really cool races in here though, backdropped by beautiful scenery, street circuits in the city or winding roads up in the hills, and off-road tracks too. One thing I do like with Heat over a game like Horizon though, is that you really need a car set up for off-road for it to work well. In Horizon, you can drive a really fast Lamborghini over grass at top speed, and while a 4x4 may work a bit better for you, you could still make a supercar work. In Heat though, if you're in a car set up for road or track and you go off-road, you really lose a lot of speed. So you need to use a car that you've set up for those activities, and I like that. You've really got to specify. There's plenty of other stuff in the world as well. There are drift challenges, speed traps, quite similar to Horizon, as well as boards dotted around the city that you've got to utilize ramps to smash. There are even hidden flamingos dotted around the world that you can smash. Get all of them and you'll get a limited edition car. Thankfully, they're not all that hidden, and if you do get close to one while driving around, it will pop up on your minimap. I do wish there was a bit more in the way of epic events and a bit like showdown events from Horizon. I hate to keep comparing the games, but I'd say right now that they are the closest two games to compare, or maybe something like The Crew. There are some time trials in Heat though that are pretty unique though. One that I really enjoyed was having to drive around a tiny zigzag circuit, which was quite tricky, and also to drive along the train tracks. Both were timed and you had to beat the required time to win. Unique things like that, which use the environment, are really cool. I did want to touch on the AI really quickly because it can be a little bit odd at times. I played all my races on hard, which is the highest difficulty that the game goes to: easy, medium and hard. Even still, I didn't find it that difficult, even when the race matches your car level. If your car level is above that of the race, then it usually is a walkover. It feels as though the AI has an unnatural speed to get ahead, but then you catch them at really weird places, and if you get ahead, you also tend to stay there. And it's not unusual for these games to have catch-up mechanics, but most of the time I would just get ahead and there felt like there wasn't much of a challenge beyond the police interfering or me hitting a car at night time and just ruining myself, which did happen. As well as all of the normal racing and events, there's a story to the game too. I won't spoil anything if that's even possible, but there are some dirty cops and they don't want illegal street racing going down in their city. cue drama, there are plenty of cutscenes, especially early on in the game when you just want to race, and a few unique missions whereby it's not just a straightforward race, but rather interwoven with a story-driven mission. Wrapping things up, I don't think Heat is perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There are a few quality of life improvements that the game could use. In fact, even quitting is a bit of a chore, as you have to go to the menu, go back to the lobby, and then hit the quit button. Not quite sure why that is. I had trouble getting into a party as well, which doesn't really bode well for the multiplayer aspect of the game. On top of that, the photo mode is really lacking in some features. It's a beautiful game that can really benefit from community created photos, but just getting into the photo mode is a bit of an issue and takes a few seconds, which isn't great when you want to capture something in motion at a specific point. It seems as though not all of the HUD elements can be turned off either. That being said, the customization is great and the racing is incredibly fun, even if it does get a bit samey after a while. In my 10 hours or so with the game so far, it hasn't evolved a whole lot, but some people won't find any issues with that. I think it's a good, fun arcade racer and a definite improvement on Payback. And that's all for today, guys. Do let me know your thoughts on Need for Speed Heat if you've played it down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I understand this isn't my usual type of video, but if you did enjoy it, leave a like. That's a great way to support the channel. If you didn't like it, dislike it, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.